Next week, we will be on the air. I have to go to Manila to investigate Professor E.W. Moore, and we'll have more about that as the weeks go by. Until next week, when we see you from Manila on our live reports in the Journal, this is Ron Barry for D.C. Drake, and this guy. We'll see you at the matches.
We're going to talk about Ron and why he's in Manila. And also joining Ron has been Bob Garris, helping Ron out in Manila. What's going on there right now is rumors about Gene Moore, who is managing the champions of Sweet Daddy White and Damian Kane. Now, the rumors have circulated that Gene Moore was involved in 3 deaths of wrestlers while on tour in Rome and Manila, the Philippines. Whether this is true or not, we have no idea. Ron is investigating this. We did receive a call 2 weeks ago from the Philippine authorities saying, yes, this is legitimate, it's a legitimate claim, and we're going to find out if this is true by Ron and Bob's trip. We're going to go right now to a tape report via satellite from Ron Barry.
Thank you, D.C. I tell you, I don't wish this country on anybody. The flight was horrendous. Bob Garris has just a little touch of malaria. He's with me, but he's quarantined in the hotel for a couple of days, so we're going to have to forge ahead without Bob. I have in my hand the December 4th, 1983 edition of the Manila Daily Star, and I'd like to read you an article that's in the back of this paper. On December 5th, pro wrestling action is coming to Manila, the Philippines. One of them, or most of the wrestlers on this card, are from the European continent, and one of the most interesting sidelights to this appearance in this country is the controversy over the Philippine Sports Ministry's refusal to grant a license to wrestler Gino Gambino. Now, the ministry claims that Gambino was suspended from his native Italy due to unsportsmanlike activities, which resulted in the deaths of 3 professional wrestlers. Although Italian officials could not gather enough evidence to prove that Gambino was malicious in these deaths, his license was lifted permanently. When the sports ministry was made aware of this, they felt such a wrestler would not be allowed in the Philippine rings. Now, we followed up this news release and checked into the story, and we did find out that the deaths were caused by crushing injuries by this wrestler's finishing hold, the Splash. According to Philippine Airlines passenger list, Gambino is arriving this afternoon with another controversial star, Damian Kane. We will follow this story and report on it in tomorrow's Daily Star. We'll be bringing you more from Manila in the Philippines next week. Hopefully, Bob Garris will be allowed out of bed and out of the hotel room. From Manila in the Philippines, this is Ron Barry for Continental Championship Wrestling.
Okay, thank you, Ron, for that report. Well, it's time for another tape report from Ron Barry via satellite from Manila. Ron is over there covering a story with Bob Garris concerning Gene Moore, the fact that 3 wrestlers have died at the hands of Gene Moore. Gene claims it's not him. Ron says it is. The Philippine authority says it's him. Now we're going to go to Ron in Manila.
Thank you, D.C. More on the controversial Gino Gambino, Professor E.W. Moore story. We reported yesterday in the Star, I'm reading from this newspaper, the Manila Daily Star. We reported yesterday in the Star about the arrival of a wrestler named Gino Gambino and the refusal of the sports ministry to grant a license to him. We waited at the sports building for the arrival of this wrestler, however, he never showed. At 2 p.m., wrestler Damian Kane appeared to claim his license with another man named Gene Moore. Moore was not listed on the wrestling tour sheet, and he claimed he was a last-minute replacement. When the authorities tried to fingerprint Moore, both he and Kane caused quite a commotion. Moore also could not answer questions to the satisfaction of the authorities. When the fingerprints were finally given, a check was run through international computers, and Moore was found to be none other than Gino Gambino. When informed of this later in the day, both wrestlers began tearing the office of the sports ministry apart. Guards were called to the office, and both men were expelled from the country. This reporter caught up to Kane and Moore at the Philippine International Airport, where both of them threatened to kill me. They were on a plane slated for Honolulu, Hawaii. Upon further checking with the Philippine Airlines passenger list, both wrestlers' final destination was New York City, USA. The story is being forwarded to the American authorities. Obviously, Professor E.W. Moore and Gino Gambino are one and the same person. I dread coming back to the States next week to be on the show with Professor E.W. Moore, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to do it. One final note, Bob Garris is recovering from his slight bout with malaria, and he will be back on the air with us next week. From Manila, the Philippines, this is Ron Barry for Continental Championship Wrestling.
Okay, welcome back to Ron Barry's Wrestling Journal. Ron, thank you for your interesting report from Manila. And we're going to bring on now Mike Kaluha.